Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a creepily cavernous edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party!
Monster Party! Monster Party! Monster Party!
Echo.
Party! God, it so sounds cavernous.
Wow, we could be a BBC sound effects record. We really could.
Yes.
We're that good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm so happy to be with you guys once again. And I would like to introduce myself. I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroll.
And
Always
I'm
working.
James, and I'm James GONIS.
GONIS.
Thank you.
And for this episode,
Sorry, you came to me so late. I should have.
the topic is echoes.
We just have
Scary
to echo everything. The entire
echoes.
episode.
No, it's not echoes.
No, it's not echoes. For this episode, this is one we've talked about doing something like this, and we've talked about some of the movies that we're going to discuss, but in its encapsulated form, we have never done this topic.
Right. Not from this angle.
No.
Right.
And the topic is caves.
Scary caves and cavernous.
Who doesn't love a
Scary.
cave?
Caves. When you're a kid
Oh,
and someone says,
Yeah.
hey, I know where a cave is, you're like,
Just
oh my God,
automatically, yeah.
drop everything.
Beeline for that cave.
Get to the cave.
Yeah.
even at an early age, when you were playing with your blocks, you would make little
Yeah,
caves.
or
yeah.
like out of like the sofa pillows, like
Right.
in the living room. I mean, like caves to a little kid, especially a monster kid. It's like it's just one of the coolest areas,
Sure.
to
Do you-
It's
explore.
magical.
Do you remember those? There were these like wooden blocks that they were kind of big, and you would play with them when you were like in kindergarten, and you could build things, and you couldn't build too much because they're big.
Right.
But I would always take them, and I'd always make a cave
yeah.
every time
And
because I had to. Because I had to
of course-
hide from myself. From myself, Sean.
And what comes out of caves? What's lurking in caves? Monsters.
Who knows?
That's why-
Dinosaurs.
yeah, monsters.
Another
dinosaurs,
world.
Cavemen.
Yes.
Like that's where you want to.
Or women.
Yes.
Bears.
Oh, man.
Bears. Yeah. All kinds of things.
So we should have a lot to talk about because this can cross many areas. This can go into
Yeah.
many different subgenres.
Sure. Sci-fi,
Right.
horror.
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So anyone have I know, Larry, you were talking about, you had a cave story that
Well,
you wanted
but
to share with the people.
before I go
Ooh.
into this, I just wanted to be clear. Like
Okay.
caves, tunnels, are they like separate things? Can they be in the same category?
I would
Do you-
say that if it's not a man-made tunnel, then if it's a tunnel,
Yeah.
then that
Yeah. The
applies.
Lincoln Tunnel
Yeah.
there's not really too many
See,
scary things with that.
I will say
Except
this.
mugging, maybe, but
In the Stand, the Stephen King book, one of the scariest scenes is in the Lincoln Tunnel.
there you go.
But-
That's
yeah,
right.
you know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't consider that necessarily a cave.
No, I get you.
All right, has that cleared everything up for you, Larry?
I
Yeah,
think
it's still
so.
pretty wide berth. I think we have still.
Because a tunnel, I was thinking initially that a tunnel is something where it starts off as a cave, you think it's a cave, and then it comes out the other side, on the other
Yeah.
side of the mountain or whatever,
Right.
and that's a tunnel. But I would also say that if you have a series of tunnels within a cave and they go nowhere, those are still tunnels.
Yeah, because you can have a
Right.
huge cave that just has a couple small openings in certain spots. but
Sure,
it's still
yeah.
a cave.
Yeah.
Well, Sean touched upon this. I think, when we were all kids, we all loved the idea of being in a cave, or whether it was like monster related or dinosaurs or something. We all made caves and stuff. For me, one of the coolest cave experiences. It's not really a movie, but when I was a kid growing up in Northern California, there was a place called Frontier Village. It was
I remember it well.
opened back in 1961 and it closed in 1980. And I've mentioned this a few times. It was basically like a Western town is for younger kids, and they had some great little rides, and it was a lovely, lovely park. And, back in those days, with the 50s and television, cowboys were the big thing.
Right.
But this one ride that they had, which was in the back of the park, was called the Lost Dutchman's Mine Ride. And
cool.
guys, it was the coolest ride because it was a dark ride. And as your kid, you're all excited. You get in it. It's like a square mine car. No seatbelts, nothing restraining
Of course
you.
not.
Okay? And
It was the 70s.
or 60s too. And this mine car went into this big giant cave. And it was, guys, when I say pitch black, it was pitch black. And the sound effects that they had, think about it, the technology of the time with like an old tape player going around and round, and they would hear it over and over, go back, this is your last warning.
I wonder where they got that idea from.
And it was this twisty, turny ride. And what happened is it was very simple. Where pitch black, they would put black lights on certain things. And as you were drive by, you could hear the actuators or the little air power things go psst, and you'd see like rock things coming out. And it freaked me out as a kid. But there was a section as you went through this cave, winding and turning, where they shot black light into this giant room. And everything was this beautiful purple and dark pink. You know how in the 70s they had the black light posters and stuff?
Yeah,
and
I had a few.
Yeah, and it
Stoned
looked like
again.
It looked like you were in like one of those posters. But one of the cool things, because this was the Lost Dutchman's Mine Ride, you had to find this Lost Dutchman. He'd be around in certain places. And there was this pit. As you turned around, it was like a whirlpool going around and around. And you saw him there. And it was gross because half of him was sticking out. Half his mouth had bubbly water stuff coming out. And he had this voice that went, ah!
So the ride was broken.
No. Matt, it played like that for years.
Okay.
But as you go through, it was so scary. I remember my older brothers, who are always mean, one of the first times I went on the ride, I was so terrified, guys. I closed my eyes through the entire time. And my brother Vince nudges me and goes, Larry, look, there's the guy going in the whirlpool. And I hear it. And I'm all, I'm turning to look, but my eyes were closed because I was so scared. But later on, this ride turned out to be my favorite ride. And it was so cool because it was dark, scary. And actually, a couple of times, one time we brought the mascot Cactus Kong with us on the ride, and he had this glowing green hair, and he really, he glowed in the black light. But then towards the end, like back in 1980, just before it closed, I'm older. I'm going, hey, this is really cool. This is so fun. And our car was going around, and I guess there was a car with some 16 or 17-year-old girls on it. We're kind of screwing around. And remember, I told you that the ride does these sharp turns, and it knocked one of the girls off. So here we are. We're going in the car. Like, this is cool.
Sorry to laugh.
All of a sudden, our car rams into this girl. And I'm like, and it freaked us so out because here I am. I'm older, and I'm like, this was horrifying. And she goes, wait. And it's like, there's a real person. We just killed a real person inside the Lost Dutchman's
This is the scariest ride ever.
Yes. And as the ride turned around, I realized in my mind, that must be a person that needs help. And I just turned around. I'm all, we're over here because we left. The ride was turning, and the doors opened up with the mine guy blowing supposed to blow it up at the end. And then the girl saw the light, where the doors opened up, and she ran out there. So it's interesting how we actually ran into a real person. Nowadays, that would never happen on any ride. Like,
or you get sued. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine at Disneyland? One of the
they've had enough trouble.
Yes, exactly. But
so you closed Frontier Village. It sounds like
I went on the very last day.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and you guys, I have to tell you, it was such a traumatic experience for me. On that last day, I didn't want to let the mine ride go. They closed the park, and I was still there, and I stood on the rocks of the Lost Dutchman's mine ride. And I wanted to take a rock or something, and I just wanted to pick the whole thing up and bring it home, and I couldn't. And it was like hard to let it go. What happened was the property was sold, everything was torn down, and they put up like condominiums in the area. They have a nice little park in the area, and they've put up little bird houses that represent the rides of Frontier Village that were there, which is kind of neat.
That's cool. But like, Larry, that's interesting because as a kid, for me, growing up in Pennsylvania, there was this tourist attraction called Indian Caverns in Spruce Creek, Pennsylvania. And this was like one of the largest caves in Pennsylvania and one of the largest limestone caves. And this was like, you walk through it and it was very dark and it was pretty basic, but they had like phosphorescent minerals in the walls. So in certain sections, the walls literally glowed.
Oh, that's cool.
Naturally glow with like little strands of glowing rock.
Nice.
It was really cool. We went on that several times when I was a little kid. But unlike your story, Larry, this one has a better ending because I think they eventually, several years later, closed it down, but they closed it just to take all the touristy stuff out of it. And the Pennsylvania Conservancy is like turning it now into more of its natural state.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and apparently they either are or did turn it into a bat sanctuary.
No.
So it's kind of cool, yeah. But Indian Caverns, I always missed a little kid like, hey, let's go to Indian Caverns.
So wait a minute. So like the bats who have escaped going on carousel.
Yeah.
That's where they go?
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I have very, very good memories though of like exploring caves as a little kid, just like that. It was cool.
Hey, Larry, I have a question for you because you're a Bay Area person, but we remember, of course, the haunted gold mine at Fisherman's Wharf. John Stanley did a film there, and that was a fun ride. But do you remember the Mad Mine at Playland at the beach?
No. My older brothers went to that.
Okay.
Before my I don't want to say before my time, because what actually happened is like I came around in 1964. My parents took my older brothers. And they didn't take me because I was too young or I couldn't remember. I remember seeing a bit of a fun house, which what I remember.
The fun house was genius. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but look, what I remember seeing it was like a lawsuit just waiting to happen.
That is true. You are not wrong.
Those rides back then, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like the 50s and the 60s. So I never went on that ride though, Matt. Did you go on that?
I did go on it. So the haunted gold mine at Fisherman's Wharf was actually a better ride than the Mad Mine. Mm-hmm. But the Mad Mine used to be a pretzel ride called Dark Mystery.
Oh.
And so what they did is they took Dark Mystery, added some mining related props and things, and then just opened it as the Mad Mine.
Oh.
And it was still cool. I mean, much like the dark ride that you just described, it was done in that style. And it was fun. And it was, it was cheesy. And, especially towards the end there, a lot of that stuff looked kind of beat up. I'm sure it hadn't been clean since the day they opened it.
Oh, well, it's a mine. Why should they?
It's a mine. Who cleans a mine? Right. But I love those things. And to this day, I don't care how shitty it is. Any kind of dark ride like that, I just love.
Yeah.
James, you got one?
You guys, Matt and Larry, you guys grew up in the Bay Area. Sean, I don't know if you ever tried to do this, but back east, when it would snow in the winter, I always tried to make an igloo.
Yes. Like totally make caves out of snow because we have like 3 foot high snowbanks just in our front yard.
Wait a minute. Is that a cave?
I'm not saying an igloo is a cave.
Yes, it's your own little. Yeah, but a little kid imagining it's a cave. And
then I can imagine anything.
Little toys and action figures going into the cave. And
the room I'm in now, through the theater of my imagination, is a cave. Okay,
well,
we're going to turn everything into a cave now.
Could it have been a bumble cave?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Or abominable snowman. Sure.
Or you make something out of a ditch in the yard, and like you have your little toys in there. It's like a cave. I mean,
but I will say, I was
use your imagination.
I was always too ambitious to actually finish it. I always started the thing, but I just never, it got too cold or I ran out of snow. Or something.
Wait, it got too cold?
I don't know.
What the hell's wrong with you?
It was pretty ambitious to do that. I mean, I was a tall
If you finish it, yeah.
I know, yeah. I guess I had too big of a circumference and it was just too much for me to handle. Whatever.
Too big of a circumference. Oh, for the igloo. Okay.
For the igloo.
How big was this thing going to be?
James, you're just a cave procrastinator. That's what you are.
A cave procrastinator. No, that's wrong.
Prestidigitator.
Yeah.
Well,
now, but wait a minute. So an igloo is a ice home. That is not a cave.
Yeah.
We all agree on that. Okay?
But I wanted to make myself a snow cave, let's say. Okay. I want to make something enclosed that I could, burrow into and be hidden away.
Isn't it funny? We all want to just get away. We really do.
Just live in the earth.
See, I didn't want. I wanted to explore. That's what I wanted.
Explore the inner earth. Explore the.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and just really quickly about rides. Have you guys ever been to Knott's Berry Farm on their Calico Mine ride?
No.
Not in.
Okay. See, now
forever.
the ride that I explained at Frontier Village is kind of a spooky, scary ride. The thing about the Calico Mine ride at Knott's Berry Farm, it's a little more traditional, where it's very long and you actually see miners and people working on stuff.
Yay.
But it's like I love that animatronic miners.
Are they scary miners? Are they like zombie miners?
Well, if they're doing the same action over and over again, Sean, they could appear like zombies. No, but it's still a working mine, and they're looking for treasure and gold. I mean, let's face it, California had its gold rush. That was a really exciting time. And that's what they're trying to show in this mine.
Yeah. Kids, black lung disease.
See, you're talking about the kids in Pennsylvania who did all the digging for coal and stuff, or things like that. Not out here in California. They're digging for gold.
Yeah, and they're just finding it all
gold
the time.
Fever.
But as a kid, though, and a monster fan, I was mines. Any kind of mines to me had to be haunted or
I'm with you.
Lurking inside.
I don't want a real mine.
Mines are cool. Sure, fine. Like we need mines for coal, but I want
jewels,
in there.
Gold. You don't want to find jewels and gold, Sean?
It's not as exciting as a monster.
Yes, you get gold and jewels. Then you can buy that famous Monsters cover artwork that I missed at the, I wasn't able to bid on. But that's if I had
went into that mine.
James.
Well, if you were talking about mines, one of the only real cave scenes that stands out in my memory in a Japanese kaiju film is Rodan.
Oh,
yes,
almost
great.
The whole first part takes, it involves miners who work in the mine who are, one of them is killed by what they end up finding out is a creature called a meganulon, which is
that's kind of my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, that is really well done. All that stuff. That's such a good buildup, and that is really like the Rodan stuff is great. It's kind of classic kaiju destruction in the city, but the mining stuff is actually creepy and scary.
Yeah. And the meganulon creature, the meganulon creature didn't really get its due as far as action figures went until maybe relatively recently when they started creating like little miniature ones and bigger vinyl ones.
There was a Marmot figure, I think. Yeah. That came out, but
I think I remember that.
That's good because that's one of the few like kaiju films that really involves a mine.
You know what? This is not on my list, but when Larry was talking about finding the jewels and everything, it reminded me of a Little Rascals short where Spanky and all the gang, they go into a cave and they find a giant. Do you remember this?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
And first they find all this treasure and they don't realize there's a giant there. So there's like all kinds of gold coins and they're trying to put it all in their pockets and their pockets are bursting open and then all the gold falls out and we all laugh. And, and so all the kids are taking as much as they can. And then a giant shows up and the giant, it seems, is going to cook them, or I forget exactly what it is.
Right.
But a spoiler alert, it turns out to be a nightmare. But
yeah, that's right.
I don't remember this one.
Yeah, now it comes back to me.
My God.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I'm trying to remember. I think it's called Mama's Little Pirate.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, no, check it out.
I'm
still bone chilling to this day.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, pirates and caves kind of go hand in hand. You've got the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which is one big cave, pretty much.
The Caribbean?
Right? Caribbean.
I think it's Kimber. Is it pronounced? I've never known what is the precise pronunciation.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
Do you say tomato or tomato?
Isn't tomato English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a cave. It's a cave. Right?
It is a cave. Yes, you're correct.
Well, one of as far as a 50s film that involves like a classic cave and even has cave in the title is a very low budget 50s Roger Corman production called Beast from Haunted Cave.
All right.
and that one, it's like there's kind of like these robbers who they're intending to steal some gold or something, and they enlist like the aid of this local ski instructor in these mountains, but there's this cave and there's this creature in there. And it was one of the cases where I think they weren't able to get Paul Blaisdell to do the monster, which they usually do. But this creature is still kind of creepy because it's very hard to describe. It's all kind of covered in cobwebs or like silk or something. And it's kind of like a skeletal face. And it makes this very kind of creepy shriek. It has like these long kind of spider-like limbs. And you don't see it that much, but what you see is pretty effective. And the whole cave is kind of like covered in its webs and everything. It's kind of a cool way. It's very low budget. Mike Forrest, the actor, is in it. It was directed by Monty Hellman.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of one of those public domain films you can get, but it's pretty effective though.
I haven't seen that in years. I might need to dig that one up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, there's another really cool cave sequence that I love so much from another 50s film. Well, this is a little different. It came from outer space from 1953.
Right.
Sure.
The spaceship or the meteor that crash lands burrows into a mine or a giant cave. And what's kind of creepy, if you think about it, is when John Putnam, who is the amateur astronomer, makes his way into the cave, he encounters what he thinks is his girlfriend, Ellen, but it's not. It's actually one of the xenomorphs taking her form.
Right.
And she says to him, "You can no longer be trusted." And she takes this wand and she starts firing like this laser thing. But because the xenomorphs, the way they move, it's kind of slow, and he's got a gun. So he shoots at her and basically kills the xenomorph. And the xenomorph topples over and falls down this crevice with this watery pit. And then he goes through the cave. And the funny thing is, as you go through the film, you realize, you think in the back end, hey, that xenomorph is still in the bottom of that little pit. If they wanted to prove that these things existed, you could go down there and take it out. But, who knows, maybe it dissolved or something. But there's a whole sequence that takes place in this mine that I loved. I always loved following John Putnam go through the cave.
I thought when you were bringing up that film, I thought you were going to bring up Mole People.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the ultimate
Classic.
cave. And the whole Hollow Earth thing is fascinating to me. Not that I believe any of that for 1 second, but
it's cool.
It's really cool. And the idea that there's this underground civilization has two different types of beings.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
What prologue? A 5-minute prologue with some USC English professor showing you maps of the center of the earth.
I love
It's
that.
like little padding. University.
Wait, I thought that was
I love that,
educational, though.
I sort of enjoy it because I love it was Dr. Frank Baxter who did Hemo the Great.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that.
So I'm with you. I like those scenes.
Now we can appreciate it. It's a little campy and corny. Back then, probably kids sitting in a drive-in saying, "Oh, come on, get on with it."
Get on with the movie.
James, you bring up a good point. You're right, because at my age, like Matt, I love watching that. That is so neat. But yeah, as a kid, you go, get to the mole people. Come on, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the mole people are so scary. To this day, I think that's a great design.
Really cool.
The design,
Yes, so
the
unique.
design of those creatures, the mole people, it's so cool. The large hands, and what's funny is when they made the mask for these creatures, I think the actors that were using them, I mean, actually did stuff with their mouths and stuff. Remember that, Sean? There's that scene where you're looking at the mole people and his mouth is kind of moving.
They're
and
just
it's
so
unearthly.
inhuman. Yeah.
That's a pretty good script, I think. Because there's
I
a
like
lot
that
of fun stuff, that they all eat mushrooms because that's going to grow underground.
But there's like action adventure.
There is.
It's like.
And there's intrigue,
there's some
intrigue.
I don't want to give anything away, but there's some terrifying stuff when you're exposed to a certain thing, and what it can do to you is really frightening. It frightened me the first time I saw it.
Oh yeah.
And then you got to admit, isn't there like a cool like dance routine? It's a different civilization.
The slave girls dancing to the king of the mole people, or whatever.
It's like
I love that.
This primitive, like Sumerian type culture. Yeah. And the people who live underground are, of course, very pale, and they distrust anybody that has like whatever you want to call
a tan.
A tan, yes. Right. Or what
they would hate it if George Hamilton showed up there.
Yeah. They call that the mark of darkness.
You see, man, that's why I identify with those people. I felt like, I can live down there. I'm not a sun worshiper. I'm not one of these guys, give me some sun. I mean,
I'm with you.
I'm very pale, man. I lift up my shirt. I'm like, I glow. Okay.
Yeah. To paraphrase George Carlin, I just try to neutralize the blue.
Well, plus you had John Agar, you had Hugh
Beaumont,
Nestor Pavia,
Ward Cleaver, Alan Napier, I think.
Isn't it funny the lengths that Ward Cleaver went to get away from his kids?
But see, that was to me like the mole people, like the creature from the Black Lagoon. It was cool to see Universal was done with their Frankensteins and Draculas and Wolfmans, and they're, this is the 50s now, it's the atomic age, and they're exploring, they're doing more like horror sci-fi, and the mole people was a completely original idea and script, and it was just really fun.
Yeah, and also good caves though, by the way, in Creature.
There are. Yes. But going back to mole people, one of the coolest things that I thought, Sean, maybe you'll agree with me here, is these mole people, the actual creatures, they would kind of go into the earth. They would kind of like they burrow down,
move, kind of like the Horda.
Yes,
but Star Trek,
Sean,
they knew how to move around.
But Sean, what other movie had you seen that? And the other thing, it wasn't one mole person; it's a slew of them. It's like they're slaves almost. There's a bunch, and they're all going under the ground or coming up. I just thought that was so cool, and the hands that they have are so massive with the giant claws.
Yeah,
also you've got this movie called The Mole People, and you see the poster which has the mole people on it, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, the mole people, they're these monsters that are going to come after you. And when you watch the movie, they're the ones you feel sorry for. The monsters are the more human-like characters.
Yeah,
right.
What a great movie that is.
It's cool also that it takes place in, I guess, Mesopotamia or Sumeria, which is now like Iraq and Kuwait. Mm-hmm. And so like in Creature, if they took it to the Amazon, now they took this to that territory. They branched out a little bit. Of course, it's all filmed on the lot. Yeah, there's a lot of matte work in it, which is for its time, it was actually pretty good for a B movie like that.
Great.
But just love the fact that that's where it takes place. It's kind of random.
Yeah.
And since then, Sideshow's made some great toy figures of those people, and they're absolutely beautiful. And it's funny how that, like the creature is great because he's, from head to toe design. The mole person's really just the hands and the face, but it still has such a great look.
Yeah.
I mean, he wears kind of like I don't want to say like an old suit, but it's like
burlap
slave outfit.
Yeah.
But it got the hunches in the back.
Never took off in popularity like the Creature, though. The mole people are sort of in the
which is kind of surprising.
The C list of Universal monsters.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Still,
the first time I ever saw the mole, a mole person, was The Mask, the Don Post mask.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
In the pages of Famous Monsters magazine. and I thought it was one of the coolest masks next to the
me too.
creature.
Totally.
Very
I could barely afford the hands.
Yeah, right. I know.
You know, Sean, you had mentioned the creature. Why don't I just to really briefly, the cool thing about the creature cave or the creature lair is, you know, you have that, it's a cave there's a bit of water in it, and then it's
right.
It allows you to walk on the land, go through a cave, go in, and you have there's an area that's submerged, but he's got these pools, pools, and and
the lighting in there is just
the lighting.
And what's so cool is like if you watch the creature from the Black Lagoon and you watch them as they go through the cave, okay, there are bats in there, okay? There are bats in the cave.
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful and very long. There are these beautiful paintings in the background that make it seem like it's deep and it goes far. And you've got stalactites and stalagmites. But the thing I love is I always thought it'd be cool to hang out there in the creature's lair because he has these little pools, like, I don't know, like little bathing pools. And I'm sure maybe there's some that are like warm or something, like a little sauna or something. I always thought that was.
Is that what you think?
I did. I used to think
he would just use those to marinate you.
Oh, see, now you have to put a mean twist on it.
Hey, a creature's got to eat.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to eat shrimp. He's not going to eat meat. You know, and you bring up a funny thing. No, you.
You look delicious?
No. When you look at all the people that the creature kills, he doesn't like take a bite out of them. It's like, hey, you're in my territory.
As we know, As we know in Revenge of the Creature, he eats a diet of fish.
That's right.
They feed him fish. I mean, he might also eat other living things. We don't know, but like he grabbed the pelican or the bird into the water in the first one.
But Sean, he didn't want to eat the bird. He was irritated. He was irritated at the bird. The bird was on his log. He's all, get the hell off my log.
It was like a lot of assumptions about the creature's diet.
Well, that is true.
It's like that. Everybody's seen this YouTube video that I think Frank Dietz, our friend and guest, has done, where the creature from the Black Lagoon is like, "Oh, fuck this." It starts with a pelican. You know, "Oh, fuck this."
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's great.
And if anyone wants to ask, my understanding is, I think I spoke with David Scow about this, who's like a creature expert, that pelican was okay.
Okay. Really? I'm glad to know.
He did it. The pelican
still alive today, by the way.
Well, I don't know about
outlive them all.
No, but it's like I remember seeing. Oh my God! Did he just kill that pelican?
That was a swipe.
They
you would
go
not
on.
know that pelican made it after that.
Yeah, it was effective. I mean, I remember seeing it as a kid. Like, whoa!
But apparently, word has it, the experts say that the pelican survived, and so that's a good thing.
Many children.
That's good.
Now I can sleep.
Hey, speaking of that movie and the cave that you just described, that reminds me of a movie that's not nearly as good, but this scene affected me very deeply when I saw this movie as a kid. And the film is The Giant Leeches.
Oh, yeah.
And so in that movie, these giant leeches that hang out in a swamp take their victims and bring them to an underground cave that, from as far as I can remember, there was no way out except through the water.
Right.
And so imagine that you're one of the giant leech's victims and you're just in this cave, this underwater cave, and you're weak because you have all this blood missing from you. And you just know that there's just no way out. And every time these leeches come back, they just take a little bit more life out of you. And I remember just feeling that when I was watching it as a kid. No way out. No way to escape.
Yeah, it was kind of effective actually in some of those scenes too. The leeches, like, sucking the blood out of the victims. They just have them laying around. I think it's
cool.
Yeah. That's good. I like that one.
Jumping back to Universal films for a second, there's also a cave or two in the Frankenstein series, and I'm thinking of the ice cave in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Oh, yeah.
Where Larry Talbot finds the monster, I guess after, what's it? Son of Frankenstein? Ghost of Frankenstein.
Ghost of Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yes.
The monster encased in ice in this cave and thaws him out. Very memorable and evocative scene.
Especially seeing him through the ice.
Yeah.
Being
cool.
So impressed by that shot. It just looked great.
And the ice made him look like Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, somehow it
Even-
morphed his face,
Even more
Yes.
so.
made him shorter. It's like incredible.
See, James, that's what you wanted to build when you were building your snow. You were making your Frankenstein ice cave. That's what you were doing when you were a kid.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Hey, shouldn't there be popsicles? And the stick is the Frankenstein monster.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
How do you like that?
Cool.
You know, you can make them now. They have little popsicle kits. You can put a little, you know.
That's
It's
true.
true.
That's
So
true.
you'll be going down Martha Stewart territory with that, though.
I don't mind that at all.
Okay, go
Yeah.
You
If
know,
it means hanging, with Snoop, I'm ready.
for
Living here where we are, there's actually a very famous place that's been used in a lot of films,
True.
and I'm talking about the Bronson Cave.
Of course.
Here, or they're
Bronson
called the
Caverns.
Bronson Canyon, Bronson
Cavern
Bronson
caves,
Cave.
right.
But I mean, I'm sure listeners may have heard about this. It's a very famous place here in the Hollywood area. And it's basically, it was called Bronson Canyon because the street that
Right.
leads you right up to it was called Bronson.
Yeah.
That's basically, and so, we'll call this Bronson Canyon. And there used to be, I guess it was like in like 1895 and 1905, there was a mining company that, because of all the construction that was happening, they were digging these tunnels into the rock formations to get gravel to make
like
for
city streets,
for the
city
city
streets and
streets.
railways.
Yes.
It was actually called the Union Rock Company, and they were
Yeah.
excavating
Wow.
rocks for years and years. And then finally they stopped, I think around the 1920s.
Yeah.
And actually, as we're just talking about tunnels, it's actually a tunnel, but
Yes.
it's angled in a way that you can, from each end of the cavern, you can shoot it so that it doesn't look, you can't see the other end of it. So it looks like a cave that goes just way into the earth. I mean, my God, countless movies and TV shows
Sure.
since the 30s have been filmed there.
Yes, probably the most famous that everyone would probably recognize is from the 60s Batman TV show.
Right, where the
where
Batmobile
the
comes out.
Batmobile comes out. That is Bronson Cave. And when you look at it, you go, oh, with all the vines. Hey, folks, it's Hollywood, okay? They decorated it with all these vines and stuff around it. But the cave, that is Bronson Cave.
Yeah.
And as Sean has mentioned, there's a slew of movies where they put different things in front or to the side.
You shoot on each side. I mean, Roger Corman used it many times. It's been in The Outer Limits. It's been
Robot Monster.
Robot Monster. It conquered
very
the
famous.
world.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it is great because it is cool because you can, if you live in LA, you can. It's open to anybody can go up there and just hang out in there. It's pretty cool.
Now,
I'm confused though. I'm confused because you said that it was named after the street, and I thought it was named after Charles Bronson.
No,
I thought- I thought Bronson would hang out in the cave and go, "You want to see a cave, punk?"
Well, kind of close.
Supposedly, the
It's
story
not
is
supposedly, it's true.
okay.
Tell me the story.
The story is that an up and coming actor named Charles Buczynski was in Hollywood, and he saw the Bronson Avenue or Bronson Boulevard, I think Bronson Avenue sign, and said, "Hey, I think I'll change my name to Charles Bronson."
Is that right?
And
That is.
and
Yes.
history was made. Yes.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bronson Cave.
Thank you.
Venus
Yeah.
Charles Bronson.
And Death
Yeah.
Wish.
And yes, and to me, one of the scariest or creepiest moments for me with that cave is from Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956.
Right.
There's a sequence where the two main characters are trying to run from the townspeople who are now the pod people, and they go into this mine. And it's the Bronson Cave.
Yeah.
And what happens is they have this clever idea of there are these boards or planks right by the entrance, and they get under the planks.
Right.
And there's a sequence when they're lying there as people are running over
Looking
the
for
plank.
Yeah.
And
Very scary.
I tell you, that was so scary to me. First of all, I thought it was brilliant of them to think because like an idiot, I always said, I'm going to try and run into the cave, but they were very smart.
And it is interesting how, just a little bit of set dressing and changing around, you can make the cave. We recognize it as film fans, but you can make it look pretty different in different ways.
Sure.
Speaking of Roger Corman, one of the best movies that really showcases Bronson Cavern, because you see it so much in the film, is from 1958, Teenage Caveman.
Oh my
Teenage Caveman, starring a 30-year-old Robert Vaughn as the Teenage Caveman. But the whole
He went through it twice.
the whole tribe of his tribe lives at the cave
Sure.
entrance. So
Why not?
they live in there and they're hanging out on the outside. So you really get to see the whole area in that cavern really well in that film.
That cave, the Bronson Cavern, is almost like a perfect movie set
Really,
because you've got this tunnel and it's long enough so you don't see the end of it.
Yeah.
And so you can really, have the camera see down it quite a ways before you see the other end. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like they built it for that.
I know. Right. It's funny.
Yeah. That I will say this, sadly, I did go recently and either in light of, people trying to be very safe, the cave is fenced off. You can look into it,
okay.
But
is that permanently, or do you know?
That's a good question, Sean. I don't know the answer to that, but think about it. This hole or this tunnel was dug over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And what's happened is there's been some erosion, and you can see rocks have fallen down. And I think it's out of caution. They don't want people to go, hey, let's go through here and have a big rock land on your head.
No, that would not be good.
No. So, but you it's easy to go to. You can go up to it and you could go up to the fence and look through. Maybe you don't think that's as fun, but like Sean mentioned, that whole area, as you come up to the tunnel, if you go to the left and curve around, that whole area was used for so many other things.
And it's so funny because you just shoot it at a certain angle, but in reality, when you're standing on the outside of the one side of the cave, you just look up and you can see the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Which is so cool, but it's just off. Look, so when you watch these movies, you realize that just off camera is the Hollywood sign right there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one that is kind of a really good use of a cave. Very low budget 70s film called The Severed Arm. And this is a cool one.
I don't know this one, Sean.
This is a great concept where it's just a bunch of buddies exploring this cave, looking for gold or whatever. They're just doing this, and they get trapped. There's like a little bit of a landslide, and they're trapped in there, and they're there for days and days, and starting to panic. And they realize, they gotta eat something. So they draw straws as who are they gonna, cut off somebody's arm, and eat to live off for a while. They just have to do it. So they just pick this poor bastard. No, don't pick me. He got the short straw. He's gonna. So they saw off his arm, and about 5 seconds after they do that, they hear noise outside, like somebody's found them.
Right.
So the guy whose arm's cut off survives, but he goes mad. He's crazy. He's in an asylum or something. Right?
It's like a Twilight Zone or something.
Yeah, but then years later, the remaining guys who decided to pick that guy to cut off his arm, they start getting picked off one by one by some guy with an axe and getting their own arms chopped off. And it's a really cool little movie. It's Paul Carr, Marvin Kaplan, Deborah Wally from the 60s beach movies is in it. It's really
What year is this?
73.
Wow.
It was
Sean, I take it back. As you described the film, I saw this. I didn't remember the title.
Yeah.
Was it made for TV or was it an actual theatrical?
No, theatrical release.
Okay.
It was it's one of those films that you could find bargain video stores. They recently put it out in a nice Blu-ray, and it has a pretty twisted ending too. It's pretty cool. It's a good mystery. It's pretty suspenseful. Yeah,
I remember this. So, hey, just word to the wise: if the four of us get captured in a cave or something,
it's you, Larry.
Let's just agree. No, I was going to say, let's just agree not to cut off anyone's arm or any appendage. Let's just, get
you say that now.
Yeah. How about a love handle?
Yeah.
See, it's funny you should say that because now I realize I know it's going to be me.
See, I'm too thin. You're getting meat on me.
And I knew Sean.
So
Sean's
I'm good. I'm safe.
I'm so skinny. I have no meat on me. And I'm going to be you know what, Sean? Most of my stuff it's lard. And so it's
hey, I love fat.
If you cook it right, though, it's fine.
Yeah, it'd be like pork rinds,
Somehow, I think we would be the four least likely guys to ever be in a cave. We're just
probably.
We're not really the outdoorsy type, right?
Yeah.
A cave would have to fall through our roof.
The closest we become to being stuck in a cave is being like stuck in a crowd at Comic-Con in the dealer's room. That's like about as close as I'll get.
Now, a lot of these films, that we've talked about, there's sequences that are in caves, but what if you spend like most of the movie in a cave? Like for me, this is more like an action adventure, not really like horror or sci-fi, but it was written by Jules Verne, and I'm talking about from 1959, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Sure.
Directed by Henry Levin. And what's neat, it's one of these films that when it's on, if I catch it, I love to sit and watch it because I find it engaging. I love it I know, but Matt doesn't like the lizards with the sailbacks.
No, it's not. I know what you mean, but
boring. It takes so long for anything to happen.
No, it's a fanciful, well-produced movie, but there's no suspense or like anything scary about it.
Gertrude the Duck. What's going to happen to Gertrude the Duck?
It's like for toddlers.
Think about your threshold. It's the journey to the center of the earth. You're going down,
and they don't get to the center.
No, well, kind of.
Burn up.
Well, not really. In this film, it's a little different. It's just a little different.
Fuck you, Jules Verne.
No, now give Jules Verne some credit, okay? He wrote this. Yes.
Haven't they? I mean, I know they have made kind of like several versions of that story, like in TV movies and miniseries, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I don't know if I'm really familiar with those. I just kind of know that the American film, but
they keep trying to sex them up. They keep adding more things.
Yes,
and
it's
it's
true.
Like, come on,
true.
just give up this idea.
Hey, but what I wanted to let you guys know is it stars James Mason. He does a great job.
I don't know who that is, but
is that James Mason as a mole person?
But what's funny is I just learned that originally the studio wanted Clifton Webb to play that main character, and he's kind of like feeble and weak and he's all, he's skinny like Sean. And then what happened was he got sick and had to go to the hospital. And so they decided, well,
Sean.
Yeah.
Nice, Larry.
No, I wasn't going to say that. But then they hired James Mason because they loved they loved his voice. Like I love his voice.
Plus it tied into 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is kind of
He had just finished that film.
Yeah, they obviously were trying to echo that kind of production, I think.
Echo.
Hey, but wait, what about all the imitators?
Wait. But I wanted to say that some of the sequences were shot at the Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico, which is why there's some sequences that look really, really cool and look real because they are. I mean, granted, a lot of it is studio stuff, but there's that great sequence when he chisels a little piece, and then there's a little leak that starts, and then it has this whole cascading water thing. I mean, I love it. I really enjoy that film.
Skip the movie, go to the caverns.
Yeah, for me, I never get there's never a feeling of claustrophobia in that movie. It's all like nothing. It's just this big Hollywood set. And like, if that's where you're in the mood for, that's fine. But I don't know. For me, it doesn't work really as
that's what I was in the mood for.
Yeah,
that's
your thing.
And I didn't mind that the sailback lizards. I thought they're
just real lizards.
But you know what, Sean? As lizards go, with gluing a sailback, those look great. They're great.
So I never buy
They never look great.
It takes me completely out of the movie.
Absolutely.
Every time I see that in any
I just say poor lizard.
Any Irwin Allen film that uses it, the second I see that, even as a little kid, I'm like, hey, that's just like a lizard with a fake fin on it. Like I can't get past that. I'd rather have cheap animation. I'd rather have like
guy in a suit,
anything.
Where's your suspension of disbelief? Can't you just take it all in and go, hey?
Because that's the cheapest.
Well,
like shortcut, like you could and plus
animal abuse.
Yeah, you're abusing a freaking lizard. Sure, the lizard didn't consent to that.
Why do you hate lizards?
especially when they get lizards and like little baby alligators to fight them.
Yeah. Stop hurting lizards and alligators, Larry.
Hey, let's save that for our lizard show. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of takes place in a giant cave. It's a cavern that goes down into the center of the earth. And what's really neat is how they emerge. It's kind of like when you look straight up in like a volcano chute, and it's like, that's a cave, and you're going shot up. I just thought that was really neat. Okay. It spoke to me. It didn't speak to you guys, but it takes place in a cave.
I prefer most of the imitators. Like at the Earth's core.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That is way more fun. That's the kind of Hollow Earth that I want to go to.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I like that.
That is a lot of like,
and that's a great one because you got the junk because it's like Hollow Earth. So you got the jungle setting, but then they go into the caves and caverns where all like the lava, molten rock, isn't all that stuff. That's great.
Sure, you got all those
Doug McClure, Caroline Munro.
Yeah, and all those the suits, those monster suits. I love those things.
Yeah, me too.
They
should make figures of those.
They should. Yeah,
I want a Doug McClure action figure.
What's interesting for listeners, if you're not familiar with it, what's interesting is as these main characters burrow their way into the center of the earth, and you find this world. There are the sacrifices made to these pterodactyl type creatures.
Yeah,
right.
And it's weird because these pterodactyl creatures. Don't they have like special mind powers, Sean?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they hypnonize
victims.
Yeah.
And then basically you stand there like, I'm going to be eaten.
Yeah, you're just waiting around.
Right. They fly down and grab you and eat you. And then they have and the creatures who are kind of like the most human-like, but they're kind of pig-like too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they make really cool sounds too. Like they're very subhuman.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you remember me telling you that I went to see that film? And the advertisement in the newspaper said, I think it was 1976, it said, you're going to see one of the real dinosaurs or creatures from this movie. And I got so excited. We went, and there was just some dude in like a caveman mask, and he interrupted the movie by running through the theater. And I'm
surprised they did that. No, but I'm surprised
by the
70s, they did that kind like William Castle type gimmick.
Yeah, that's just asking to get your ass kicked.
Yeah. So basically, he had like a furry like loincloth thing and furry shoes, and then he had this. It was like a Neanderthal mask. I think it was a Don Post mask, and like a chain around his neck, so it kind of blended in. And then he was like shirtless and just ran around and ah. And I remember being mad at him and going, "You're interrupting this movie, you stupid caveman guy." Yeah, it was very irritating. That's what my memories of the theater was packed too. And people were yelling at him.
Wow.
And he ran up to the screen.
I kind of would have loved that though at the time, probably.
Hey,
well, I was a different kid, Sean. I don't interrupt my movie while I'm watching it.
Another movie like that I really enjoyed, even though it's flawed, but there's a film called Unknown World. 1951.
They burrow to the center of the earth.
Yeah, because they're trying to get away from there's a impending nuclear holocaust that's about to happen. So they want to see if they can live underground.
Yeah.
And you don't really see any dinosaurs or anything like that.
It's like a drilling machine vehicle, right?
Yeah, but it's really interesting and it is pretty action packed.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, as opposed to Petrified World, which we've discussed before.
The Incredible Petrified World. Yes. Right. Yeah. That's a pretty bad one. Also, there's a kind of like almost like a little subgenre of cave movies that involve like blob, like gelatinous creatures. There's one from 1958 called The Flame Barrier with Arthur Franz, I think. And it's kind of cool. It's like more like a jungle adventure, but Arthur Franz is hired by this woman to find her husband who was tracking a satellite that crashed into the jungle. So, but they ends up being that the satellite crashed into a cave, but this kind of gelatinous mass from outer space attached itself to the satellite. So the whole cave is like covered in this kind of blob-like substance, and like the husband's body is all in there, covered it. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And then there's also one called The Unknown Terror from 1957, which is this scientist is kind of experimenting with fungus in a cave for some, scientific reason, but it's like the fungus is like alive and growing and like they're mutating some of the people who live in the caves. That's pretty cool. And of course, one of the coolest ones is Mario Bava's Caltiki.
Yeah, I love that one.
Caltiki. Great. Do you really?
And
I love it.
Oh, that's great. And also, like Bava, shoots it so well. Like the cave stuff is shot really well. It's creepy. It's lit really well. And it's like this kind of blob mass that comes out of this ooze that comes out of the watery depths of this cave and starts attacking everybody. These are all fun movies.
I would say adjacent to that would be the film The Brain from Planet Eros.
Yes, exactly.
It's not a blob, but it's a floating brain.
Yeah, and it kind of hides in the cave, right?
Yeah,
and it's like
And it's like a Cain and Abel type thing. There's a good brain and there's a bad brain.
Right.
And the bad brain is able to take over people and possess them to do horrible things. And he possesses John Agar, but then the good brain comes and saves the day.
Yes.
There's something about that movie that I find so charming.
Yeah. It's same with It Conquered the World with the Venusian creature lurking in the cave, and Beverly Garland goes in there to try to kill it. Like
also Bronson Cave. Bronson Cave,
That's
right?
Yeah.
And along the same lines, Attack of the Crab Monsters. You have those great crab monsters also living in the cave. Like
What's
it's
with these
Bronson
caves?
Cavern. It's so cool.
Can you imagine if all those monsters at the same time were all living in the cave? Hey, scoot over.
Living in the cave.
Hey, the brain's got to think here. Go over here.
That would be It's a mad world of cave monster movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
I know, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's
make it. Let's make it.
Let's make it.
There is another beautiful cave that I love. Of course, it's not the biggest sequence, but it's from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad from 1958, directed by Nathan Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to Sakura's castle where he can fix this potion, you have to go through this cave, and the way it's lit is really beautiful with these reds and blues. And guarding the castle is this giant dragon created by Ray Harryhausen, one of the best looking dragons and fantastic stop motion animation. But I've always loved, Sean, it's kind of like, how I love space from Star Crash with all the colorful lights.
Right.
And that's kind of has the same feel for me.
It's like
when
a
you
magical kind of cave.
Yes. It's fanciful. It's fantasy. And I just
colored light.
Yes.
But so in that scene, there's the dragon that's guarding the cave.
Yes.
He's got a chain on his neck that goes into the wall.
That's correct.
And it's controlled by a wheel that someone going in the cave has access to.
Yes.
So all you got to do is just turn the wheel and the dragon is pulled to the wall and he's no longer a danger. So you get in.
Well, you got to know that. You got to know that.
Well, yeah, but that dragon could, who knows how long before that dragon breaks that chain and gets loose.
Well, it's like,
John,
if you say, it's like if you, Matt, look, first of all, the dragon's really there to keep the Cyclops from coming in, not so much people, but let's just
say. Like a guard dog.
Yeah, but let's just say, oh, hey, I want to sneak into his place, and you walk in there, you don't know about that wheel. It's not like out in the open. It's kind of like, hey, if you have a key hidden, no, if you have a key hidden under your mat or in the mailbox, for someone to get into your house or something, it's kind of like that. So you have to tell someone, hey, look for the key under the mat. And it's like, hey, look for the wheel behind the rock. You pull the wheel, and that's how it makes the dragon.
Okay, all right, okay. But when you watch that scene, don't you get a feeling of like when you watch like those SPCA or animal abuse commercials where they got the dog in the snow on a chain?
Right.
And I almost want to like have the audio to those commercials over that scene with the dragon.
Yeah.
Like, look at this dragon.
You do kind of worry about
to live in a cave.
He's gonna get I
feel bad for
marks
the
on his
dragon.
neck.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, Matt, because in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, this is back in 2011, there is a dragon in a cave. It's like down in the bank vaults of Gringotts, which is really a cave that's been hollowed out and stuff. And there's a dragon that he's been chained there for hundreds of years, and he's white and pasty and pink. Yes, talk about cruelty. And what they do is they ring this special bell, and the dragon has been conditioned. When it hears the bell, it knows it's going to be injured. It's going to be hurt somehow. And so the dragon starts to cower, and it's a big, massive dragon with wings. And so they just shake the bell, and they don't have to do anything because they know the dragon is
Pavlovian.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
And it's sad, and I don't want to give stuff away, but Harry and his buddies managed to help this dragon in a way, and it's such a great moment. If you've never seen that last Harry Potter film, it's just terrific, and that whole dragon sequence is great. But it's funny because the dragon in Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, he looks healthy. he's fed, he's
He looks,
green, he's in
I don't
great
know.
shape.
I don't know what he's supposed to look like.
But I'm telling you, Matt,
Give me a before picture, and
when
then we'll
you
talk
look at
about
the
this.
dragon in the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows, that is a sickly dragon, and the thing that its wings can, it's having to struggle with its wings because it's been in this tight place and stuff. So it's like I never felt as sorry for the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad dragon as much as the one in Harry Potter, because they have the same thing with the chain and the collar and the kind of thing. But
how about Smaug? Smaug.
Well, no, Smaug. Are you kidding?
Smaug?
Smaug is his own dragon. He's not, but he does no chain, and he can talk. He's smart. He's mean and ferocious. And basically,
I'm just saying he's a cave dragon.
Dweller. Yes, he is. And he took over. What he did is not only did he destroy the whole town, but he came and destroyed that dwarves' home area, that whole cave. He ate dwarves. He burned dwarves, and he tore that whole place apart because dragons love gold. And it was basically this mound of gold that really attracted him to this place. And
maybe he heard about that dragon from Harry Potter, and it's like, oh, fuck that. Nobody does that to my friend.
Wasn't the dragon from Dragon Slayer from 1981 also in a cave? Wasn't that a cave dragon?
Yeah, there was. There were some. I remember seeing that. There's some great shots of that dragon coming out of that. Cave,
okay, but look with that dragon. Look, they made a deal. We just sacrifice a virgin every couple months or something.
That dragon too. Remember that they say, like Ralph Richardson said, this dragon's old. It's losing its scales every once in a while. It's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good movie. I like that movie.
And what's interesting about that, that was the first time that they used the go motion thing at ILM. It's one of the best. And if you ever see this film, Dragon Slayer, people criticize the film.
Oh, I think it's well done.
But the dragon is so cool. And there's a sequence when it's crawling through the tunnel.
I saw that in the theater, and I remember because I'm a huge Ray Harryhausen fan. I believe the same year, very close around that, Clash of the Titans came out.
Right. Same year.
I love Clash of the Titans. It's got your classic old-fashioned stop motion animation, which is beautiful. Right. But when I saw that dragon in Dragon Slayer crawling through that cave, I'm like, holy shit, this is something new. This is something different.
Sean,
it wasn't CGI. It was like the step before CGI, but it's great. And that dragon is a real character in that movie too.
Yes.
Really
I think that was the one I got to go back to.
It's dark too. It's really dark, violent. It's very good.
It is not your typical killing the dragon story.
No. Right. It's really well done.
And which is
the guy makes his shield out of the dragon scales, it's really cool.
Yes. And who you think may survive, and who you think should die things don't really go the way that you think they're going to go. But the one thing that's consistent, one of the best looking dragons, and yes, Sean, like you, I had the exact same feeling. I went, oh my God, that dragon is real. The way it moves, I'd never seen anything like that.
Pejoris or something.
Yes. I think it was Phil Tippett and a bunch of other guys at ILM.
Speaking of Phil Tippett, but also you're talking like Dennis Muren and Bronson Canyon, 1970 Equinox.
Oh yeah.
They go into the cave. They go into the cave and find that book, and that starts the whole,
Oh yeah.
That's a great movie too. Great stop motion monsters.
What about a movie with 3 caves in it? Separate caves.
3 caves?
3 caves. The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh my God. Of course.
Yeah, so you got the Wampa Cave.
Yes, right. About that.
Right. Okay, now Great Cave, and the thing I remember being disappointed about when I saw it when it first came out in 1980 was I wanted to see more of the Wampa, and then later they get digital Star Wars, and they
too much.
They added more of the Wampa, which I thought looked cool and stuff. But think how scary that cave is. Luke is he's pasted hanging from the ceiling with that frozen. How did he do that? That's so Matt. That is a scary cave.
That's a scary cave. But then you also have the cave that's in the asteroid.
Right. Right. Yeah, giant worm creature.
And the worm creature comes out.
Oh, great. Thanks for spoiling. Oh, great. Why don't you just tell them the real secret of the film? God.
But then
Really?
it also, right, Matt, the third cave then.
Then the third cave is the one that's on Dagobah.
Right.
And that's the one where Luke goes to face his fears.
His vision, yeah.
And so you got, that's a 3 caver.
I never thought about that.
Hey, so guys, so you guys are Star Wars experts here.
Sure.
When Luke goes into this cave and he sees what he believes is Vader, and he immediately takes out his lightsaber. So he already made 2 mistakes. He starts to go to this place because he feels compelled to, and Yoda goes, "Your weapons, you will not need them." This is the guy.
That's good. I like that impression.
This is the guy who's been teaching him stuff. Don't you listen to the guy? Like, oh, fuck you, Yoda. I'm taking my weapons,
he's still impetuous. He's not yet a full Jedi. He's still learning. I mean,
oh, come on, Sean. If your master told you, Sean, your weapons, you don't need them, you're going to go, I'm going to take my weapons anyway.
Still feel comfortable having a blaster at my side, though.
Well, of course. And also, hey, if that were me at that age, I think it'd be like, as soon as I got a glass to raise with the Force, I'd be like, I got this.
Matt, he's not 13. He's older. He should know better. He's already
kind of acts like he's 13.
No.
Anyway, he does progress through the movie and then becomes
So guys, so he takes out his lightsaber and he fights this image. He cuts Vader's head and it rolls off, and then it pops out and then it shows his face. He sees his face. That's his own image. But is it all a dream? Like he doesn't come out of the cave and Yoda doesn't say, "So I have to fix the animatronic Darth Vader now for your second test." I mean,
here, room here is cave. Go inside.
Imagineers are hard to find on Dagobah.
That shit you clean.
So was it all in his mind, guys?
You're asking this now, Larry? Yes. You can interpret it many ways. That could be his destiny. He will be like Darth Vader, or maybe it's giving
so basically,
or it's like a little hint that it's his father.
But you're telling me you don't have an answer, is what you're saying.
Well, do we need an answer?
Everything have to? Why the slightest ambiguity? You just cannot deal with it.
Well,
That's
it's
true.
I want to know. I want to know the truth.
What do you
think it is?
I think it's an animatronic Vader down there that Yoda put together.
Okay. I know that this is your cute answer, but that's not true. You don't really believe that.
Just like in the birds, you think it's radiation that caused the birds to go crazy.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Wow. How can you enjoy any movie with that mind?
I enjoy many movies.
I don't understand how you do it.
No, because when films explain things, I'm totally fine.
It's left for you to interpret it, Larry.
The interpretation I like is that when you look into the abyss, you see yourself.
Yep,
and that is the classic, especially with the whole Zen Yoda stuff. He could be his own worst enemy. That's the warning.
Right.
That to me cuts
or he could turn to the dark side like Darth Vader.
Yes, that's the
or it's hinting that he may be related to Darth Vader. There's a lot of different ways. Interpret it the way you want. Don't be asking questions 50 years later about it.
Why not, Sean?
Why not, Sean?
Are you afraid that you don't have the answer? Is that what you're saying to me?
I have my own interpretation. I think it's any of those 3 things. But it's like I don't want like one single totally like
ironclad. Yeah.
No, it was the midichlorians.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there you go.
Please.
Thank you.
I just realized it's actually 41 years later. It's like, holy shit, 50 years wasn't that much of an exaggeration.
That's
well, look.
All right,
the point being, there were 3 caves in Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Pre-caver.
You're welcome.
Okay, I got one that I like that's more recent from 2017.
Okay.
And this is a direct video, and it's called Time Trap.
I love that movie. It's on my list.
Oh, yeah. I think we have seen this. Yeah.
I love it, too.
It's like a professor takes his students to a cave or something, right? That's a cool movie.
Archaeology or a geology professor played by Andrew Wilson, who's Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson's older brother, who's less successful than the other Wilson brothers.
Right. He only does cave movies.
and he goes looking for his family. His family were hippies who disappeared in the cave, like in 1969.
Yeah,
and their flower van is sitting outside.
yeah.
They're hippies, and he went looking for them.
Because they never reappeared. And what the cave is that you step into this cave, you go through like this sort of air pocket, and suddenly time slows down to the point where it's almost standing still.
Right.
And then his pupils, like his high school pupils, go looking for him. 2 days later, he only thinks he's been in there for like 10 minutes, but to them, he's been gone for 2 days.
Right.
And then they get trapped in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
He just plays havoc with the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're sort of following along with this. And what I love about it is that it never got, like, I have a kind of a low tolerance for a lot of these types of movies because I'm not into claustrophobia. It's like, look, you put yourself in that situation, you're going to get what you deserve, right? But
wow.
Here, I'm like, you know what? This is getting more and more interesting. And there's some moments going into it that are literally like, holy shit, what was that?
And it's also, it's clever.
It's very clever.
It's done a low budget, but it's done well. Like it's
none of the
big
other
ideas, small budget. Yeah.
And it actually comes together at the end.
Yeah.
It comes to, like, I was like thrilled by the ending. I was like, I didn't know that this was, and I was actually happy with the ending. And again, this movie was directed by Mark Dennis and Ben Foster, who did like nothing else, no budget, zero release. And yet, you know, a movie like As Above, So Below, 3 years earlier, gets all of this theatrical.
Which I like, though, a lot.
I think that's a good movie.
That's a good movie.
I did not like it.
Well, of course you didn't. Of course you didn't, James, because it's one of the most claustrophobic fucking movies you've ever seen.
Yeah. And it's a little more supernatural, or what do you want to call it?
I mean, it's also
metaphysical.
It's catacombs, like catacombs below Paris.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not technically a natural cave, but
I do like that movie.
Yeah, it's a found footage movie.
Yeah,
it's a found footage movie.
But the way they fuck with the characters and what's going on in that really is effective, and it's really
I agree. Hey, but similar in theme to Time Trap, though, would be Dark. You guys have watched that, right?
I've not seen
yes,
that.
Of course.
German TV show Dark involves a series of caves that are able to allow you to travel through time.
Yes.
And so you have all these different timelines that are interacting with each other. And to watch this show, you really have to pay attention.
Yeah. But you'll get immersed. I mean,
yes, you will.
It's great.
And you can even get charts online that will follow all the tendrils that come from these different timelines. That's great. That is a brilliant TV show.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I wanted to kind of leave this title for you to discuss because I know you love it, but come on. One of the ultimate scary horror cave movies is more recently, right?
The Descent.
2005, Neil Marshall. So good.
It's sort of like the Star Wars of cave movies. It really is.
It really is.
Because it's got everything. It really does. It's got great characters.
It's got women.
An all-female cast.
All-female cast. Great.
They're all wonderful. The first half of the movie is scary enough as it is because it's mishaps involving these splunkers and exploring this cave system that's off the charts.
Yes.
So nobody knows that they're there.
Yeah.
I understand the whole idea of the spelunking. For people who don't know, it's like you go into these caves that could have like these big caverns or something that's really beautiful to see, or like little lakes or something. So it's something that's, very adventurous. There's a lot of adventurous people out there who want to go explore this.
But I think more than any other movie that I can think of involving a cave, it puts you in the cave with the character. Like you are immersed in there with them, and it's so well. And I remember seeing the making of documentary on the Blu-ray, whatever, to find out that a lot of the cave wasn't even real. Like it was
most of it was not real.
Like a set. And
a set.
You'll never
believe that when you see it. It's
ever
directed and photographed so well.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Neil Marshall film shot at Pinewood Studios.
It's interesting. Matt mentions feeling claustrophobic, and I really don't get like that. But this film, actually did make me feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And Neil Marshall did an excellent job. And just these tight spaces and how these women are crawling through these holes.
But then the threat that later comes up is
the threat that comes later that is it's teased.
Yeah.
In the first part. And when it finally hits, it's just so beautiful.
I agree. It's very well made, and I understand why you appreciate it. I fucking hated it. I hated it.
But is that just because of the claustrophobia?
It's not just the claustrophobia. You have one woman who's traumatized by an accident that happened a year before. Yes. I think the last thing she should have been is dragged down into a cave where it's not even charted.
But James, she doesn't know that it's not uncharted. Her friend duped her into thinking that.
Well, the thing is that the whole, these 6 or 7 women who were friends together, I didn't feel like I wanted to follow them into that cave. I thought, you guys do what you want to do. You're asking for it. I don't want to follow you. And when I did follow them, I regretted almost every minute because I could not respect their decisions, not individually or communally. I thought it was a bad idea to begin with. I appreciate why you like it, but it was not for me. So I almost have to disqualify myself.
Because there are adventurous people who go into caves and do all these
and do things wrong.
Yeah,
that's fine. Well, it will never be me, and I don't want to live vicariously.
So you just stick to your little snow igloo, and
does everything have to be
guys,
you?
Come on.
No, wait a minute. So every movie you have to be the template for the character?
No. But I think that there's the one character that I was hoping to sort of identify with to carry me through this ordeal was the woman with trauma. And I think that's by design. That's who you're supposed to sort of be rooting for.
Yeah, I thought she was fantastic in the movie, too.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to take anything away from the craftsmanship of the film. It was extremely well done. I understand why it's popular and regarded as a modern classic. But for me, I wasn't willing enough to follow these characters because I just didn't like any of them.
I will say this. No, I will say this in defense of James, though, is
I won't hear it.
This takes place out in the woods.
Blah.
Hey, can you give me a chance to talk instead of interrupting me? Perhaps.
All right, I will.
I could have sworn that's something I'm trying to work on. You're not interrupting.
Well, I wasn't really interrupting you.
You're blah 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 blah.
That was a joke. The plan was always to let you finish.
It's called humor.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just saying that out in the woods. When you're out in the woods, the woods is very peaceful. It's very serene. And perhaps James's thing is, you know what? If I'm out here in the woods, maybe I just take in the woods. I don't need to go into a cave.
No, I don't.
So, we know, look, we all have our own little issues. James doesn't want to go into the hull of a cave. He doesn't like eyeball things. Matt doesn't want to get enclosed inside a coffin box.
Buried alive, right?
My favorite movie is The Descent. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but that's the point, is that it makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's what a horror movie does.
And I'm just, go ahead, James.
I just don't understand how, I'm going back to Bone Tomahawk, which a big part of the last third of that movie takes place in a cave of these cannibal troglodyte Indians. And it's horrifying. And what they do in there is horrifying. It's not that claustrophobic. But Matt, you came down on Bone Tomahawk because you thought it was boring. Descent, I'll give you, is not necessarily as slow paced, but I just found it way less engaging than the characters in Bone Tomahawk. And it pisses me off, frankly, that a movie like Time Trap, which I think is way more imaginative.
They're so completely different movies.
Well, you're not comparing The Descent to Time Trap.
I'm comparing The Descent. I'm comparing The Descent and As Above, So Below unfavorably to Time Trap, because even though, yes, they're different types of movies, Time Trap to me has a lot more creativity. It didn't insult my intelligence. The Descent, it didn't have enough character development to make me want to follow those characters. I don't frankly understand why you wanted to follow those characters. I just thought they were all unappealing idiots. And that's what I needed to be in that situation. You have a better margin, I think, of tolerance for some situations and some character motivation.
I think they're flawed characters. That's all.
Yeah, and there's that moment there, that scene where they're all together, kind of drinking and hanging out and talking about past relationships. Like we do. I think it's I think the characters are very well drawn and engaging. I mean, it's just a personal preference, but like,
yeah, well, I'm watching them drink and I'm thinking you guys are all going to die. And that's all I'm thinking.
Well, but James, at the same time,
so
at the
the
same
odds are
time,
pretty
though,
good. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
At the same time, though, when you're watching something like Friday the 13th, do you feel the same way? It's like, oh, they're all smoking
James
and
has
drinking.
never seen Friday the 13th, any Friday the 13th film, so he can't comment on that.
Oh,
why? Well, I mean, I've seen enough. Let's put it that way.
Well, look, I don't want to
movie.
jump on you. I understand where you're coming from, but
No,
for
jump.
me
I don't care.
no. I understand where you're coming from, but I will say, to me, I mean, Matt had mentioned this Descent, and he let me borrow it. My daughter and I watched it, and through the whole thing, we were
like
just biting our nail. We were like so nervous, and we were intense the whole time. And I thought it was great. Where it goes is very scary, and I thought it was a great horror
It's
film.
just a difference of opinion. It's got like 99% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. If I'm the 1%, I'm the 1% dissenting opinion. Then there's another 1% out there who agrees with me. That's all I need.
But
Right?
James, it's because of all the accolades. Like if that movie was like this kind of undiscovered gem that like nobody knew about, that you watched it then, because like I think you're jealous because it's so it's popular and people like it so much.
It was thoroughly unpleasant, and I found the characters unredeeming, and I was just like, what am I putting myself through this ordeal for? And it has nothing to do with the accolades.
So movies like Hostel or like any other extreme movies you're not into then.
I would not see Hostel. You couldn't pay me to see Hostel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nope. And you're on Monster Party?
You're on Monster Party.
Hey, come on.
You know what though? There are listeners out there, and you know who you are, listeners, who are with me on this, and you wouldn't waste your time seeing Hostel. I'm not alone.
No, it's not. That seems
not
like
Hostel.
When it gets
that's not the rock I'm going to die.
Guys, I think that's
too
true.
Extreme or too like, I mean, I guess.
Well, I mean,
like even like like a movie like Maniac or something, which just drips with like sleaze and gore and like.
You don't like that
misogyny,
stuff, right,
but you kind of like are cool with that.
No, well, Maniac also has another angle to it, which is you're going on a
completely different movie.
Apples and oranges.
You may be taking a leap by calling it a character study, but it does sort of approach the Maniac character.
I think it is a character study.
And as a character study, I could sort of watch it in fascination from that angle. Right. It wasn't just strictly misogyny, which, I go back to I Spit on Your Grave, which is like, that I could not watch in the same way. But again, we're going down a different cave.
Can I say this? I think that if you took that same attitude toward characters and you applied it to Stephen King, you may find some similarities throughout his work.
What do you mean? You mean like the disposable?
I think you might have some unlikable characters that do some illogical things throughout his work.
Yes, but it's not work that I necessarily appreciate. It's not work I consider some of his more successful work, right?
What if it's Woody Allen? There's some characters who make a decision.
Just because I didn't like The Descent and As Above, So Below. We don't have to go there.
Okay, interesting. But it's interesting to know. Wow. I did not know that you did not like The Descent. I thought we've talked about it before, but I didn't know you felt that strong.
Wow.
No.
All right. I think someone deactivated your fun button, but
but I'm sure there are many other cave films that we can discuss. Sure. And I'm saying I will agree with Sean that The Descent is like an amazing
for me personally, it's a granddaddy of cave horror.
I agree. I'm it's so funny, Sean, I understand James doesn't like it, but when you look at all the cave films as cave horror films, that to me really stands out. As the ultimate. And I think they had the filmmaking technology to really, like I said, really put you in that situation,
Hey, how about one that we all agree is good? I'm hoping, James.
Okay.
The Time Machine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. Now we're all friends again.
Well, no.
Oh.
Which version?
That's right. Okay, because I do have an issue. That later
Really?
version.
Oh, forget it. Doesn't,
no, and-
I don't think I've ever
with-
even saw the remake all the way through. Like I think I saw parts of it.
It's what's interesting with Guy Pearce, who I like, but it was directed by a descendant of H.G. Wells. A descendant of H.G. Wells.
Oh,
and
right.
that was like a selling point. I'm thinking that's kind
a
of
stupid selling point.
And the Time Machine itself, and I'm talking about this newer version. Time Machine looks cool. It's neat.
Sure.
But what they do and his issues that he has, and like to go back in time again and again, and the Morlocks and the people that live there, it just doesn't work. The Morlocks don't look good at all.
Yeah, and it was just like a pointless remake. Like, why?
Yes, actually, yes, Sean. I mean, I remember getting bored and irritated, and then how if all the Morlocks are kind of like animalistic, but there's one played by Jeremy Irons who's all sophisticated. It's like what? What's that? It just,
Larry, when you brought up Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and that cave. Yes. I would apply what you said about that cave to the Morlocks cave in the 60s version. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And it's so spooky in an almost gothic haunted house way.
Yes.
When you see the Morlocks coming through that weird gauze underground and they're coming at Rod Taylor and the other Eloy. Oh, and just their glowing eyes.
Yes.
That's all you see.
Yes.
I love that whole underground. And the first time you see the bones of the Eloy.
The Eloy.
And that blue lighting. Yeah. Oh,
it's
beautiful
so
stuff.
Scary. And the beautiful Yvette Mimieux. And just to think that this gross, pudgy Morlock is going to be gnawing on her arm, really like freaked me out.
There's an audience for that.
Well, sure, but it's like the Morlocks with their bluish color and their beady, glowing eyes,
kind of quintessential cave dwellers, you know.
Yeah, yes, Sean, yes, and the way the cave is structured and the colors in it and the smoke, it is in a way, Matt. It's both beautiful yet terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
I completely agree. James?
No, I like Time Machine.
Okay. But
it's got Wilbur from Mr. Ed.
That's right.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, he's good. Even doing that accent, I thought he was great.
He has one of the greatest lines. He has all of the time in the world. I love that line. That's
I know. I like it too.
No. But
is that Charles Bronson?
No. But the cave inside, it's weird because the caves that the Morlocks live in, it's both half natural, half Morlock made. You know?
Yes.
And it's just really well done. What gets me is there's this sequence when Rod Taylor and Yvette Mimieux, they go to like these pits that are like these giant cement cones. And then he goes down to the cone, and it's like almost like a sewer thing because the bars there, that's man-made, you know. And he goes down into the cave he goes down the tube and he starts going through the cave. And these could be sewers or something like that, but you can tell that there's areas that could be natural caves.
Right. Like they built upon it. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Here's a really weird one, pretty obscure one that I don't think many people know about. It's kind of interesting movie from 1984. I think it was like a UK/American production. It's called What Waits Below. Directed by Don Sharp. I think the story by Freddie Francis, partly. Robert Powell, Richard Johnson, Lisa Blount. And this is like in Central America, this team of like cave experts are sent into this cave because the military is using caves for radio transmitting areas for communicating with submarines. But this one transmitter has gone down inside the cave. It's gone. So they have to send a team of soldiers and cave specialists into this cave to investigate. And they find this race of albino dwellers living in this cave. And this is weird. Yeah, they're kind of like this whole like tribe and this whole kind of system of government down there. And they kind of battle these guys. And one of the head albinos is played by the actor Jackson Bostwick. He was Shazam in the Shazam show.
No.
It's weird because they're all completely white and it's a very strange movie, but kind of interesting and pretty well done. It's a little bit of a maybe lit down at the end, but it's kind of interesting. It all takes place in this cave. What waits below?
Can you imagine the casting for this? Looking for people who don't go out in the sun, white pasty people. Man, I'd be there in a heartbeat and go, hey, it's for me.
We could have had a whole career, Larry.
Yeah, I know. I could have been in the mole people. I could have been in this one. Yeah.
There were some times in my life where I absolutely could have been a Morlock.
Although,
the pot belly and the...
Sean, I'm not familiar with this one, but this one I know you're familiar with. And it's not people who live in a cave that are white and pasty. They're very tan. And I'm talking about 1 million years BC from 1966, directed by Don Chaffee. This is great Harryhausen effects, but cave people living in a big cave.
These are good-looking cave people, by the way.
Well, it's weird, Sean, because let's say, okay, when you get a new apartment and it takes a little time you start finding some things you put in your apartment to make it comfortable and stuff. And it seems like, Tumok, that's played by John Richardson, and the cave people that live there aren't a lot of luxuries here. It's like, oh, there's like some yak hair or like a yak rug or something.
Right.
But it's like, it's really brutal. I think people are like sleeping on a rock or something. It's like, guys, come on. Hello.
Yeah.
Can't
No
you
wonder they're angry.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a sequence when, they're all trying to roast the boar that everyone's waiting for. And this little kid tries to stick his hand to get a little piece, and the head caveman steps on the kid's hand and burns it. Like, here, I'll show you. Don't try to grab the big beast before it's done. And then
Had it coming.
I guess how's he going to learn, right? Yeah,
Right.
He's got a big burn in his hand now. But it's like, and when that beast is done, the head caveman grabs his piece, and they go off into little corners. It's like it's just not comfortable.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys remember, but in the 70s, there was a real cool set of models that came out, the prehistoric scenes where they had dinosaurs and cavemen. Yeah, and they made a model cave.
That was one of the best pieces of that series of models. A giant cave that was snapped together.
Yes.
Tools and weapons and a fire pit and bones.
But Sean, it was just like the cave from 1 million years BC.
Yeah.
It's like you could buy the little Neanderthal man or the Cro-Magnon man and the Cro-Magnon woman who's scared of the two-headed snake.
The bases all went together to form like a giant diorama.
Yes, exactly. But what was so cool is you had all these great dinosaurs, all throughout the film. But the cave, the sequence that takes place in the cave was very memorable to me. And that's how cave people lived. And I actually thought it might have been, they might have had a few more luxuries in there, I think.
Yeah, like a tanning booth maybe or something.
So I don't know if you guys had those models, but I love those models as a kid. Those are a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But we've talked about the cave films with models and stuff. I mean, we could go on and on, couldn't we?
Yes, we could. We could. I now believe we can do another episode.
Yeah.
What do you say we do a little lightning round? Throw out a few more cave things, huh?
Lightning round.
James?
Well, we mentioned the Bat Cave, but we got to say the Bat Cave, right?
Of course.
Yeah, of course, the Bat Cave.
The Bat Cave.
One of my favorite Mego toy was the Bat Cave playset as a kid.
Yeah.
I never had that playset, but I always
wanted it.
Came with a little bat signal. I loved it.
Yep.
Speaking of Stephen King, there's a couple of cave moments. Desperation has an abandoned mine. The characters spend a lot of time in. And The Outsider, which was a recent HBO series, there's a tourist attraction that's closed down because there was an avalanche that killed some tourists called the Marysville Hole in Texas. And the whole climax takes place there. Talk about Gargoyles from 1972, where all these gargoyles are
love that cave.
This whole civilization of gargoyles reproducing in this underground cave.
Yeah, the whole area of eggs hatching. Oh, love that.
Love it, yeah.
Yeah. And The Omen in 1976, where I believe Gregory Peck has to go to a cave to see painting of his son as the Antichrist and get
kind of like the ruins,
the daggers of Megiddo. Godzilla versus Ebirah, where Godzilla is actually napping in a cave.
Yeah, it's very memorable. Like when his eye opens.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think I mentioned this before, but Josh Kirby Time Warrior full moon movie, Chapter 5, Journey to the Magic Cavern from 1995, which I contributed some material to, which involves some mushrooms in the center of the earth who can talk. And the Japanese one is named shiitake, and the Italian one is named porcini. So you can kind of guess where that goes. The whole thing's on YouTube. I don't know how much of my humor is in there, but there you go.
Nice, very nice. All right, here's a couple. This is a cool little movie from 1961, Dr. Blood's Coffin. There's this kind of mad scientist. He's experimenting with extending life with dead bodies, and it's in a Cornish village, and the body he's experimenting on is kept in this coffin in this cave. And it's actually Hazel Court's husband, who she thought was dead, but is really like a reanimated corpse. That's a fun one. Of course, Invasion of the Star Creatures with Bob Ball and Frankie Ray, who run afoul of two gorgeous space girls who are trying to take over the earth, and they're hiding out in a cave where they're creating vegetable men to take over. It's great. Also, I would say Screamers, which is the retitling of the movie Island of the Fishmen, 1979, Sergio Martino, because the Screamers version, Roger Corman had them film a new opening, which takes place mostly at Bronson Canyon, where there's like a gory attack by some fish creatures on a group of people who go into the cave. So that they literally just shot this extra little bit at Bronson Canyon to add some gore and monsters in the beginning of the movie. And of course, we have to mention Trog. I love the cave in Trog because you get like many levels. You go deeper and deeper, and way down in there is Trog. So
that's true.
Very good.
Love Trog. Well, how about Mysterious Island, guys, from 1961?
Yeah.
In Mysterious Island, there's two big caves. One is where our main characters, when they go to this island and they kind of make it into their home. And the second cave is there's a cave underneath the island where the Nautilus is. And so there are two big caves on that. We had mentioned the Catacombs of Paris. I don't know if you guys have actually been there, but I've been there and I've checked it out, and it is, it's really, really creepy.
Sure.
The whole idea was that they started to put this thing together back in 1774 when there was an accident when the cemeteries were just getting full of people. So the logic was, look, we're going to dig these holes down, and we're only going to save like the skull and a femur of each individual. Wow. What they did with everything else, whether they threw it out in the ocean or something, God only knows. But it's like you have, generations and generations of people just line the walls of that place. Yeah. And it's really, really creepy. And when you go into it, there's this big sign in French and it says, "Stop. This is the Empire of Death," which is kind of cool. Now, what's interesting is over the years, history there's lots of important parts of history that have been played down there, like during World War II. But guys, as recently as like 2005, police raided an area and they discovered there was a giant movie theater. These people had built a movie theater alongside the caverns. Wow. And they had a full whole bar and like a big screen. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And isn't that crazy? Down in the catacombs. I think that's just weird.
Maybe they were showing the descent down there.
Yeah, maybe. But two
hopefully
places.
They kept it.
No, as far as I know, they didn't. But two really cool places in California. They're close to each other in the central area. I went there as a kid. One of them is called Mercer Caverns. This was actually discovered back in like early 1907 or something when Mr. Mercer, he was shooting at rabbits or something and fell down this hole and discovered, oh my gosh, there were skeletons. The Indians had thrown their dead in there. And he took a torch and started to go down. And it's this long, winding area where they had all these stalactites and stalagmites, and it went down really far. And he started to give people tours by taking a little candle and going down there. They eventually built stairs, and it's really, really cool. And it's from when the earthquake happened and the ground and the bottom like shifted. And this is like millions of years ago. And during all this time, you had all the stalactites and stalagmites form and stuff. And it's beautiful down there. But the other one is the Moaning Cave. And that's just a giant room that you could fit the Statue Statue of Liberty inside. And the person who discovered that, they would send you down in like a little basket on a rope, and they would just have you go through with like a little candle or something.
Wow.
But since then, they've built a spiral staircase, and both places are really cool. Different caves. I don't think they've been used for movies because just the way they're designed were designed, but really cool places. So there's one movie and 3 interesting places that are real.
All right. Well, for me, what I got first is Lair of the White Worm. Nice, scary cave in that. Ken Russell really brings that whole world to life.
Yeah.
It's able to be campy and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, and scary too.
Yeah, and very scary.
And funny.
And funny.
Yes.
Very funny. A lot of great humor in that movie. I would also have to bring up Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Beneath the Planet of the Apes, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the first cave we have is the one in the Forbidden Zone where they find the talking doll.
Right.
Oh, yes.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie. And then there's A Boy and His Dog.
Oh,
yeah. The whole
Yeah. Down
civilization.
It's called the Down Under, yeah. And that's where all like the supposedly respectable people live. And Vic gets brought down there to be a stud, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's going to help repopulate the Down Under. But I love that movie, and that's a great sequence. And I love the idea that in much like the mole people, everyone is pale, but they're pale because they put on makeup.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're wearing clown makeup to emulate this, like, hey, everything's
Happy.
great down here. We're always happy.
It's so weird and crazy.
Yeah, really good. And then I would have to point out 2 Twilight Zone episodes. One, The Old Man in the Cave.
The Old Man in the Cave.
Great episode.
Charles Coburn.
James Coburn,
Yeah, James Coburn.
And this is all about a post-apocalyptic world where there's this supply of canned foods, and there's a man in this cave that is telling you when you can eat certain things.
Right.
And then this group of soldiers comes in, and they're trying to get everyone to eat the food, and things don't end up so well.
Right.
There's also the Rip Van Winkle caper, and that involves the robbery of Fort Knox of a bunch of gold bars. And this story leads to suspended animation and a hiccup when it comes to time travel.
Yes.
Great. And you were talking about toys. I would have to bring up the Herculoids play set.
Oh, yeah.
The box comes with a cave.
Yeah.
And the cave, if you put all the pieces together, spells out Herculoids on it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The Marx play sets, of course, have some wonderful cave and mountain sets that I always enjoyed playing with as a kid. And then there's an actual real life cave that I went to a lot in San Francisco, and it was called Ishi's Cave. And Ishi was the last known member of the Native American tribe, the Yahi. So he was like this guy who was celebrated because he was like the last wild Indian. And there was a legend, a rumor, whatever you want to call it, that there was this cave near my house that was a place that Ishi would live in Northern California. And we would go to this cave, and it was this little tiny cave, and you had to squeeze yourself in. But we'd go there all the time because we were just fascinated with caves, obviously.
Right.
And then we also shot a movie there, and I did a Super 8 version, my version of The Island of Dr. Moreau. And so we had the sayer of the law who was covered in fur, and the fur was cotton balls. And he comes out of the cave and he gives the, what is the law?
That's awesome.
Spiel. Anyway, and so, that was a real cave. I'm not sure if it was ever definitively proven that Ishi stayed there, but it was kind of a nice yarn that made that cave all the more fun.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
So neat. That's awesome,
cool.
Matt. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Hey, why don't we make a toast to
caves? Yes.
Ooh. Hey, drink.
Caves.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out.
Hey, shout out.
We can't stop.
Got a couple of Twitter shout outs.
Okay.
Nice.
This goes out to Bob Murphy from New Richmond, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Who's been one of our Twitter followers who chimes in every so often. And Bob, we want you to know that we appreciate your Twitter engagement and we appreciate your listening. Yes.
Us
and
too.
Also to another podcast, Monster Movie Happy Hour.
Ooh.
Their hashtag on Twitter is @monsters&drinks. And
That sounds like a nice companion to Monster Party.
Yeah, we should go on a tour.
Yeah.
Well, we should maybe cross promote, but their format is a little different because, like a lot of podcasts, they will focus on one movie at a time,
Right.
and they will analyze that film, which can also be a lot of fun. It's just not
sure.
like
That could be fun.
You know.
That could be fun.
Yeah. So now we are following each other, and who knows? We might they might be guests on our show. We
That's
might
cool.
be guests on theirs. So
Wait, but did they say anything like, "Hey, Monster Party's a great show" or something like that?
I'm sure they're thinking that right now, Larry. So it's
yes,
okay.
they are. Yes, they are, and they will. And hey, let's remind our listeners that Monster Party merch is still available on our eBay store, which is Monster Party Store. The Monster Party PPE cloth mask is still available, and you can't be too careful nowadays. A lot of places still requiring masks.
Oh, yeah.
You might need when you go into a cave. There could be like noxious fumes.
Sure.
Indeed.
Hold it over your head and catch falling rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Also useful in a cave, the glow-in-the-dark Monster Party logo T-shirt.
Yes. Light your
That's
way.
right. That's right.
Still available in at least a couple of sizes, I think, right?
If what you're speaking of is large, then yes.
And hey, shipping is free, so go for it.
Cool.
Do it.
Crazy.
And if you happen to be a Patreon member, we'll throw in extra stuff from Biff Bang Pow Toys, courtesy of Jason Lindsay, and creature creator extraordinaire Ted Haynes, friends of Monster Party.
All good stuff. See what we do for you.
Yeah, Patreon members. And what's this Patreon all about, Matt?
Patreon is a platform that if you sign up for it, you will get access to all kinds of bonus content like special episodes, special shows that we do like Larry's Toy Time and Monster Party Masterpieces. And it really is a nice exclamation point to our regular podcast. And I think it's something you all should be part of.
If you haven't gotten enough of me, you'll see a lot more of me.
That's true.
That's right. It's like the content kind of echoes what we do on the regular podcast.
Very nice. Oh.
See that?
Always writing. Always writing.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds kind of expensive.
No. In fact, guess what? It's only $5 a month.
What?
You're kidding.
You can't buy a miner's helmet for that price.
Yeah. You can't get into Carlsbad Cavern.
No, it's going to be at least $7 admission.
Yes, right.
So come on.
So $5 will get you all this. Give up the whole cave thing and come with us.
Go spelunking with Monster Party in a virtual way.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds dirty.
Yes.
Hey guys, I also want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Creature Features. Creature Features, Taylor White, they still are around. They still have great stuff on eBay. Go to C-Features. They have CDs and books and toys and models, all kinds of things for all of your monster needs. So check out C-Features on eBay. Creature Features. Fun stuff.
And hey, let's remind everybody, we are on social media. Yeah, we're hip. We're with the times.
What?
Yeah, we're all those cavernous areas of social media.
Okay. All right.
You can dig us up on Facebook and YouTube at
Jesus.
Monster Party TV.
Hey, Jesus was in a cave.
Oh my God, that's right.
True.
Yeah.
Lazarus, right? Lazarus, all that. Yeah.
Never mind.
Twitter, Monster Party HQ, Instagram, also Monster Party HQ. And hey, whatever platform you're listening to us on, find a place to write us a review. We would love to hear from you, and we will read it on the air.
Right.
Like this. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Watch movies that feature caves.
Like The Descent.
No, not the descent. I'm a dissenter.
Aww.
No. There's no one that could replace.
No,
maybe we could replace the technical side, but replacing the Matt Weinhold.
Oh man,
I
the
tell
myth,
you,
the legend,
I
the
tell
tragedy.
you, there's no chance.
And
Hey.
so now we're waiting for Sean and his so-called work to end. Now there's a chance that occasionally you guys might hear a toilet flush, because the toilet that is adjacent to the room that I'm staying in is a Japanese style toilet. And so what happens is that you go and then the lid will close automatically. And then like a minute or two later, it'll flush on its own.
Wow.
So it's a strange world I'm living in.
No, you're inside of a cave, and it's the sounds of the
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
in the
Oh,
cave.
yeah.
And let me tell you something. I have a really neat cave thing that deals with spinning water.
Okay.
So-
All right.
Wow.
Well, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun and kind of
fun,
spunky,
It's gonna be
loose.
It's going to be
Loose.
sassy.
It's going to be spelunky.
Yeah, spelunky. Ooh. It's funny, but I'm starting to feel weird. I'm starting to feel closed in. And
Oh,
this podcast is giving me, I don't know what it is. I have this feeling of confinement.
right.
I feel claustrophobia.
Yeah. Well, I want to
Help
wait
me,
for
Larry.
No, here's the weird thing. I don't know about you, but sometimes I know you've got this issue about. Well, it's not an issue. I mean, it's like I know you don't want to be buried alive, and
No, I'd rather not be buried alive.
and being in a closed space. Sometimes I go.
Well, you just
It's not so bad.
You crapped out for a second there.
Little ton. Well, sometimes I feel like I'm okay, going in like a little tunnel or something, and then it's like when you start thinking about, when you start rationalizing it and go, oh my God, I'm surrounded by there's just this little space, and all of this stuff could cave in on you, and but I think the key is don't think about it, Matt. When you're in a space that's really tight, don't go, I'm in a tight space. Just kind of like.
Well, here's the difference: is that it's situational. Because
Right.
for me, like if I'm in a tunnel or if I'm in an enclosed place and I know for sure I can get out, I have no problem whatsoever. But if you lock me in a closet and I know I can't get out, that's when there would be certainly a moment where I would just lose it.
Do you want to know what my pet peeve is about tunnels?
Sure.
And it makes me so mad. Okay, so I wanted to ask about the definition of. Oh, wait a minute.
Shawn Sheridan, Larry's about to give his definition of tunnels.
No, that's not what I was going to
What?
do. I was not going to give a definition of tunnels.
What is your definition?
That's not what I was going to do.
You're not going to give a definition.
Again, you're not paying attention to me.
Okay, and now I am.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to ask, as we get into this, what is a tunnel? What?
Okay, so you are really asking for a definition of a tunnel.
No, I
just asked what a tunnel is.
Or a cave. What is your definition?
Cave and a tunnel are two different things usually.
Oh, are they?
But they can share the same definition.
Yes.
A tunnel is a cave that has another entrance than just one.
And so a cave, are you saying that a cave doesn't have, it has an opening and an exit? Or
Well, wait a minute. Let's say you've got a cave Wow,
does it
thanks for
matter?
playing our game, Sean. Wow. What happened today?
Hey, should we wait?
No, but just like,
Look-
what is
look at
this?
him. He's
How
all
long has this
relaxed.
conversation been going on before I came on?
Like 15 minutes.
We've been on here since noon.
I mean, and I
We just
see.
got to defining what a
Larry,
tunnel
Larry,
is.
are you worried about picking certain films because you're not sure if it's going to fall under the right definition of caves for this particular topic?
No, Sean. I was actually just going to say, look how nice and comfortable you look with your robe.
Of
You must
course,
have a
I'm-
cocktail.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
you
Yeah.
know,
Wow.
So you
Again-
kind of look like you've had a few drinks already, and the first thing you
No.
want to go is, so Larry, what the fuck's wrong with you? What you don't know what a cave or a tunnel? You don't know what the definition is? No. This is loose. We're being
Well-
loose tonight.
So
Yeah.
did we agree on what a tunnel is?
No, we haven't even got to that. Are we going to start this? Are we going to go,
We can start,
hey,
yes.
say hello and welcome to, what we're doing?
No, I know how the show started.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure. Let me go back and review the last 200.
Hey, Matt,
Well, no,
are you in Santa Rosa right now?
I am, yes.
How's your mom doing?
She's all right. She's actually doing better, but she was moved to a physical therapy unit. So
Okay.
right now, my sister and brother and one of my nieces, they're at the hospital dealing with them. So
Okay. Are they going through a tunnel?
let's hope she's not going through a tunnel.
Yes, right.
Yeah, let's hope she's coming back from the tunnel.
Yes,
Right.
agreed.
The tunnel
right.
of love.
Okay. Who knows?
No.
She could find it at the physical therapy unit.
Right.
It's not too late.
I could
No.
I could use a little physical therapy. Just a little like little massage.
You hear that, ladies?
Yeah, I don't know.
Calling all hotties.
No,
People of
sometimes
Earth.
sometimes your back's a little sore. You've been on your feet all day.
Back's always sore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like
don't get me started.
massages
Oh, my
your
back. And then my neck. Sean, you've heard of me talk about my neck.
And the knees.
And the knees. Yeah, get rid of my knees. What do I need knees for? All
getting
right.
old sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah. As my dad would say, getting old is not for pussies.
One thing I now this could be
Oh, fuck.
Oh, here we go. What's your definition of tunnel?
All right. Are we going to discuss crevices?
Oh,
about-
wait.
Wait, what about alcoves?
caverns, stalactites.
Or
I
we
just saw a
don't.
ghost go by you.
Yes.
A
Haunting.
sexy ghost.
Yes.
A leggy ghost.
Yeah. Okay.
Larry, do you want to ask if she can do some physical therapy on you?
Yeah, well,
Wow.
if she's a
Just-
ghost, she
Just
won't
put
be
your
able
key
to
in the jar.
because her hands will just go through my body. So
It's like a
You know.
ghost. Yeah.
Wow.
I
mean-
guess.
come on, getting a massage by a ghost, that's pointless.
No, you want a poltergeist.
Yeah, true.
But then the
Well-
massage will be like a dish being thrown at your clavicle.
See, yeah, it's like a poltergeist can do stuff like that, like but it can't like take its hands and like give you a nice deep massage.
Well, Larry,
right?
unless you count the haunting where that ghost grabbed Julie Harris's hand very tightly.
Yes, that's true, but that wasn't a soft, gentle massaging. I think
True.
it's.
What about
and-
the entity?
And I knew you were going
Yeah.
to bring up the entity.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to bring that up. Okay,
If they were gentle and really
Because
just
it
trying
was-
to get
And
their
asked for consent.
masseur license,
Yes.
then maybe
You know,
that would work out for you.
I get. Yeah, I guess that. And still, the entity, the massaging in the entity seemed to be a little rough.
Okay, well that
Like Swedish, kind
No.
of like Swedish
Yes.
massaging
extreme
and
rolfing.
violent. Yes,
Agreed.
and fingering stuff. No, it's not for me.
Fingering.
And that's what we're going to go out on. Okay.
So
All
does
right.
everyone's got enough stuff, cave stuff for like a 2-hour thing?
Oh, fuck
I think
yeah.
so.
I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah, I
think
got-
we need to go 2 hours.
90 minutes.
Yeah, we can go, and
See
we don't
how
have to
it
go
goes.
super deep on each thing. We can just go and like this. Yeah.
Yeah, because some of this stuff I'm sure, discussed in the past.
Yes,
right.
All right.
but it's
so-
cool to have it encapsulated in.
Yeah, but
this
it's also
one.
from this angle of caves. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I'm going to get into the various mineral deposits that are involved in each cave.
Ooh.
Sean is taking the geologist approach to
That's my
this.
approach. We should have a geologist guest for this.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Oh, that would have been
Quick,
really
quick.
exciting.
a real lively one.
Yeah.
Now, these are called stalactites.
I know a geologist. It's
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, do you?
a little late, but that's okay.
Hopefully, he'll like the show. So.
Yeah, yeah. All
You know,
right.
perhaps there's so much information we'll have to do a second episode.
A series of
Hey,
cave
you know what?
episodes.
More insane things have happened
Yes.
just in the past 20 minutes. Okay, shall we start it?
Yes.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I have to go into your cave.
Yeah.
So Sean,
You
would
got to go into
mention
your poo cave.
mineral deposits. Does that
Mineral
mean
deposit. That,
we
he
can
has
talk-
to leave a mineral deposit.
Does that mean we could talk about kidney stones? The kidney stone in the cave of your urethra.
Why not?
Yeah. I've had plenty of experience with that.
This coming from you, the guy who had a problem with the taint.
Now that's different. Okay, come on.
That's different.
It is. It is.
Okay. All right. You're back?
I'm back. I just had to turn the ceiling fan on. It was getting stuffy.
Okay. We want you
All
to be
right.
comfortable.
Thank you.
Hey guys, real quick. I just have to pee real quick. Okay.
I guess I should too.
All right.
I'm not.
Me neither.
I refuse to.
You know what? I've got a cup.
I've got a still suit.
No, James, you have to do your pun thing. You have to. I'm a dissenter from the descent. Something like that.
Very good.
I like that. That's funny.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you say like unless you're a dissenter like me of the descent or something like that.
I like that. Let's put it together.
Watch horror and sci-fi movies with caves.
With caves.
Featuring caves, whatever.
Featuring caves.
Like the descent.
Like the descent. And then James goes, no, sorry, I'm a dissenter. And then we go, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all gonna go.
That's
"Aw."
great. That's great, Sean, because that's a pun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I was thinking, right.
Perfect.
You put the
Great.
words right into my mouth.
There you go.
We're not gonna jump on him. We're all gonna go just
Aw.
Yeah.
No, No, I was thinking more just like,
Like,
no.
Yeah.
Come
Groaning,
on.
groaning, groaning.
Yeah.
Groan is the correct
Yeah,
word. Yes.
groan.
Right.
Okay.
That was my expression watching that movie.
Don't start another episode now. Okay.
You know,
here we go.
a lot of these have been underground films. True.
Oh,
Oh
Save
my
it.
goodness.
Save it. Where were you earlier?
I know.